Your thoughts?
What? What? Who?
Nice.
Just loving you.
901, welcome in, Daily Show hitting you. Is it Wednesday? God dang it. You black out on a Friday, you wake up on a Wednesday, you know? We have a great show today. We're going to be talking all about the Two Rivers Family Fishing Fair, but in a different way, and talking about the agencies that come together for this. We have Charlie, Nate, and Allison in studio. Coming up right after that, Centerstone joins us at 9:20 for a very important conversation on the first and last Wednesday of the month, where we talk about the very important topic of substance use disorder treatment and ways that we can help ourselves before the going gets tough. And then at the end of the show today, we're talking to Jen Papin. Cicada season. She had 13 wheelbarrows the last time around of molts. And apparently she had an entomologist come out from ISU or one of those universities, and most they've ever seen before. So she's going to take us through how she deals with it and make us feel better about the cicada problems that we're facing at our house. Lev joins us at 10:50. We're going to be talking about Pollinator Day, but let's get right to this. Two Rivers Family Fishing Fair. How long is this? 35th annual?
35 years.
Isn't that why? I was telling Scott yesterday, I remember going to that when I was a little kid, and just how it's grown throughout the years is such a cool thing. But, you know, like you said, Allison, we don't realize all the backstory to this and all the moving pieces that are going on, you know, while we're enjoying the fishing fair. And how do we start this off? Floor is yours, Senator.
I guess we'll start off by just explaining that the Two Rivers Family Fishing Fair started as, and somebody jump in if I get anything wrong, as a partnership between the Illinois Department of Natural Resources, the Pere Marquette State Park, and then the Two Rivers National Wildlife Refuge, which is the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And then eventually the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers got involved as well. We have Farm and Home is a huge partner now, too.
Mm-hmm.
And then over 200 partners each and every year come to make it possible. They run the stations, run the booths. It's just a really collaborative event that's actually multiple federal agencies, state agencies, and it just takes a lot to make it happen. And so as the fishing fair has grown from what the public can see, so have the entities and the partnerships grown behind the scenes to make it happen.
So to fill me in on that, so 35 years ago, were we all in our positions that we are today?
No, sir. None of us.
So when you guys joined on to your respective staffs, I'm sure this was already an ongoing event that was planned throughout the year. And when you guys get right into it, what were some of the perspectives and some of the takeaways that you had initially just on the fair itself, but also the collaboration between those agencies?
Well, I think, I've been involved for a number of years. My first year at the Fishing Fair was 1992, so not quite 35 years.
That's pretty damn close.
Pretty close. So, yeah, I was actually working for the Army Corps of Engineers. I was a young park ranger, got hired on as a kind of a student park ranger, and they sent me up to the fishing fair and said, help man a booth. And so got to see, all the amazing things back then. Even, we talked about how it's grown, but it was still a large event, even, even and that many years ago. And so I think from, Scott Isringhausen is kind of the one guy that's been around the whole 35 years. And from what he said, there was a couple folks over at the refuge, Two Rivers National Wildlife Refuge, that got together with Scott and started talking about, hey, how can we get kids more engaged in fishing, and what can we do to encourage that, and what about a festival? And so so from the beginning it was a partnership.
Yeah.
It wasn't one agency jumping out and necessarily trying to take the lead on it. And so it's just that partnership's continued to grow.
That's a good point. I think that's why a lot of those events fail, because you're right. One agency kind of takes the cake for being the big, high and mighty, sponsor or provider powered by such and such. But it never lasts because there's a falling out in the relationship, and that's why this keeps growing and keeps getting healthier as years go on. And now, while we have you, Charlie, take me through Two Rivers National Wildlife Refuge, because we've talked about the locks up there a couple of times now, Allison. But Charlie, take me through some of the day-to-day that you experience up at Two Rivers.
Yeah, well, Two Rivers, for those who don't know, it's an awesome place. It's part of the National Wildlife Refuge system, so it's kind of like the national park system in a way. There's there's parks all across the country, managed by a federal agency, part of the Department of Interior. National Wildlife Refuges are the same way. There's about 460 National Wildlife Refuges across the country. Some are really small, like an acre or two, and then some like Alaska National Wildlife Refuge, which is millions of acres. And so we're part of that system, and our purpose is to provide habitat for migratory birds. Our main focus is waterfowl, and being where we're in Calhoun County between the Mississippi and Illinois rivers, and we're mostly in the floodplain, so we've got a lot of wetland areas. And so a lot of our management objectives kind of center around those wetlands and managing wetlands to try to provide the most food that we can for migrating ducks primarily, although there's all kinds of other species that really benefit from that.
I was going to ask you, not to cut you off, but we have a pretty diverse species of birds that are in our area. Isn't that correct? Especially migratory-wise, true?
Yeah. I mean, there's all kinds of things that people don't know about. I think the Audubon Center down at Riverlands, they claim around 326 species, I think, that have moved through this area that they've recorded, and so we see a lot of those every year. Some of them are a little more rare, but and then there's definitely resident species that don't leave the area, like the turkey, for instance. But there's all these other species that fly down to Central and South America and come through here during one way or the other during their migration. So that's our purpose, is to provide habitat and a home for those birds when they're in the area for that short period. So
that's really,
and some long term. So
that's really cool. And now as we keep moving down the list, Nate, fill me in. How does how does your team come into play with this, and really just take us through your day to day too, because we've talked to Lev a few times now about some of the things that he experiences, and it seems like the team down there, especially at Pere Marquette, really doing some good stuff.
Yeah, we have a great team down there, and this is actually my first official fishing fair.
No, it's not. Okay.
I was officially transferred here in February.
Okay.
Now, this is my second fishing fair, but last year I was just TA'd down here, and I transferred from another park. But I'm from this area. My family's from Jersey County. I grew up in Greene County, but was at the fishing fair growing up. So it was such a great move for me to come back home and be around family and everything. So I got a big heart for this.
Well,
and so for Scott and Randy Holbrook to do what they do behind the scenes is amazing. And with our partnership with the Corps and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, it can't be done without them. And my job, as far as the site superintendent, Pere Marquette, is our behind the scene is preparing the site for this event. The mowing, the weed eating, just getting everything, get the grounds prepared for us to set up. And then they come in and they're right there with us setting up. So
that's just it's really cool, because it seems like everyone has their own strengths to this, and everyone stays in their lane and just let's get our objectives tackled and we'll all have a good fair,
Absolutely.
And that's how it seems. And now, how do you get the ground prepared? Because to me, I'd always be the guy that's excited about this until I see a bunch of honeysuckle overtaking where we're putting this damn thing. Is that true?
Well, we have a lot of honeysuckle.
Okay.
Yes. but not anywhere near preparation for the fishing fair. So we have a great staff at Pere Marquette. I can't say enough things about the staff there and the people that work there. They are super. They're hardworking. They take pride in their job. And the fishing fair is one of the biggest highlights and greatest events that we do. So mowing and weed eating, preparing everything. And we actually, with the help of them, set everything up. We have A-frame tents. It's amazing how much stuff goes in.
Well, and no one realizes that because when you walk into it, it's really cool how it's set up because it's not overwhelming for the little ones. Because you bring a kid into Disney World, good luck, because after about 2 seconds they're overstimulated and what the hell, they're just walking around and just smiling and waving, you know. But here it's not. It's really a welcoming place where you have your stations. It's all identified, but what you don't see is how massive of an area you guys are covering with all of these. And 30 vendors and getting everyone set up. Is there any difficulty with vendors set up at your space?
It's not, because over years and years and years of doing this, they have figured it out. And I'm going to throw Randy Holbrook under the bus here, but yesterday I come in and he has a map drawn out to where he is still rearranging people to make it work better after 35 years.
So
I love that. That's awesome.
I put on my calendar the Thursday and Friday before the fishing fair. I'm just going to work out of the park for the day because there are so many of those last-minute things with Scott and Randy, and I'm trying to plug people where they go. This station needs 12 people. This station needs 4, and we're still getting groups coming in. I just forfeit those 48 hours because I know that it's going to be last-minute moving things around. Yeah.
So how are you guys able to manage that too with your SABs? I'm sure that you guys are bringing in your resources too and having people man, booths and stations and all of those things. Is it just, making sure that weekend you guys know as a team, hey, we're going to have to pull some extra hours here. We're going to have maybe just 1 or 2 of you in this spot because we got to bring you down to Is that how that works?
It's an all-hands-on-deck situation, yeah. So we'll identify a day earlier in the week that the weather looks good, and we'll bring as many people as we can, all of us, to set up as many tents as we can. And then the day of, all of us that are on the committee have our roles to make the fishing fair run, but then we have our teams that would run booths at events like this anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll just have our normal, we run a water safety booth, for example, but we'll bring extra staff to help with the fish cleaning station, or someone that we know on our team knows how to clean a fish. And we try to if we have the bodies, we bring them because we can put them to work.
Well, and that's what it seems like everyone on your teams across the board is really willing to put the hat on and go into work on a Saturday and on a weekend and really just get it done. Is that the case too?
Oh, absolutely.
That's what it seems, it seems like that truly is the case.
And everybody there, just at all 3 entities here, they love the fishing fair. It's a great thing.
No.
And it's free for every kid.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you wake up and it's just like, hey, let's go to work for these kids.
You complete
That's
half
most
the
important
stations. Those kids walk home with a fishing pole and all that good stuff. And it's amazing. I don't know if you guys, I was talking to Scott about this yesterday. Now are the days where you had 90% of those kids have probably never fished before.
Correct.
That's what is amazing to me because I grew up we'd go to anywhere we could, and just catch and release, and just have fun for a Saturday morning. But even for parents, that could be their first time, really fishing too. And that's kind of interesting, And now, as I'm thinking of this, how do they fill the damn tank up with all that water? Is that full before it gets here? How does that work? Because I've been mesmerized for about 2 decades now since I've been alive. That bluegill tank. Is that full of water when it gets there?
No.
How long does it
That'd
take
be
to fill
tragedy
that
going
up?
down the road.
That's what I thought. I'm like, there's no way you can fit all these fish and drive down the highway. How long does it take to fill that sucker?
You fill those from the hydrants.
And that's about. Oh, that makes sense. There you go.
But then we have the Illinois Natural History Survey and IDNR, I believe, work together to go actually catch the fish the day before.
Do
out
they
of the
really?
river.
That's what I always wondered is how. I always thought they were just like farm caught and they just put them in a tank. I'm not going to lie.
They're different every year because it's whatever the team can get.
Sometimes they get them out of the river. Sometimes they go to a local farm,
Beasley's,
pond, or whatever, and
That's
they have their
cool.
methods of catching the fish, like they would normally do for their their scientific research. But they save a few and bring them over to the fishing fair. So, and this year we're going to have 2 tanks. So,
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, so one's just going to be full of crappie. It sounds like, and
The
and,
IDNRs.
There's a lot of things around here full of fish. And going forward, I got to ask you, how long do you guys start working ahead of the event? Is it a couple of weeks? Is it a couple of days for your respective agencies? What's it look like?
You could tackle this in a few different ways. A few weeks following the fishing fair, we have our wrap-up meeting to talk about what we want to do differently for next year. So it is sort of year-round. But I think in the fall is when Scott will really start reaching out to sponsors, and we like to send out the volunteer email late fall usually to remind people what the date is and to get groups involved, and then we're sending out flyers all spring to the schools. So it ramps up these last few months, but there are checkpoints throughout the year.
Well, and that's what I think's really cool too. Is it's a well-oiled machine. And you know what's funny is I've done events and all that and doing the show for 2 years and then being in media for 6. No one realizes how hard it is to really pull those off. Because if you guys take one day off and slip up in the process and maybe don't do 1 or 2 meetings, or Scott doesn't call until November or December, then you got a couple thousand people wondering why the fair isn't the same as it was last year. Because there's a lot of people that go to this. How do you guys manage the traffic? That's what I really wanted to know too, because there's a lot of cars and everything else that's over there at Pere Marquette.
Right, and so, we have the great help of the Jersey County Sheriff's Department, Illinois State Police, our Illinois DNR Conservation. They are there to protect everyone, and they are there to regulate the traffic, and hopefully Mother Nature will work with us and we can park in the marina area like we did last year, because it was dry and we were able to get all the vehicles down in there. If not, we'll go to Plan B, and we'll talk about that this afternoon at our next fishing fair meeting. And but hopefully the weather cooperates, and the river's up now, but in our little grassy marina area, it's drying out, so I'm hoping to get the vehicles down there.
What we've had to do in the past when we've not been able to park across the street, so what Nate's talking about is you park across the street, and then we have people stopping traffic to let people cross. But when we've not been able to park there, what we've had to do is just find various places down the road where we can park X number of cars, and then what we do is we have to shuttle them back and forth, and it's a pretty intensive process.
Oh, I could only imagine.
Yeah.
It really could. And, as we keep talking here, and I really appreciate you maneuvering very quickly on 2 different... Did she tell you I moved the time and, had to change the topic up because... there was, I was out in Vegas and, I didn't think about what was happening. But all I know is it's really cool to see behind the scenes how it really, gets established. And, Charlie, before I let you go, too, or can some folks down here, learn more about Two Rivers? What can we come up and see you and really just go up and see what you guys are all about, too?
Yeah. We have like I said, a great place. It's an awesome. If you haven't been across the ferry at Brussels, it's a free ferry ride, and a lot of people like that. And stop by the refuge. There's a lot of wildlife to see. Pretty much 12 months out of the year. Great place to go. We have a little visitor center, a real nice deck, and some trails. So it's kind of a hidden gem, so to speak. It's off the beaten path, but the people that come there love it, and we get a lot of regulars that come in and out and are there all the time. So again, the fishing fair is just one of our favorite events, and we have staff that even come from other refuges for the event.
Cool.
We've got a law enforcement guy that has a canine that's coming from a refuge over in Missouri this year, and then up on the Illinois River at Chautauqua, there's 5 people coming down to help cook and clean fish. So, but yeah, lots of cool things in the area to do.
That's really cool. Well, serious. Oh, sorry.
I got one last thing to say, because I know these folks will agree with me, is this can't be done without volunteers.
I was just about to interject.
It's 250 to 300 volunteers.
Are you
Besides our staff,
Yes.
Wow.
we have that many volunteers, and I just want to give them a shout out.
Yes.
You have
So-
300 volunteers?
Yeah, so I wanted to interject too, and I came on with the
that's
fishing fair
incredible.
in 2014 when I worked for the state, and I came on as the volunteer coordinator. And when I moved over to the Corps, that volunteer coordination moved over to Randy Holbrook with IDNR, and he does such a great job. And I've kind of more taken the media stance for the fishing fair in the last few years. But I wanted to just say we're never overflowing with volunteers. We always need more. This event will, on a good weather day, do 5,000 visitors. So if you have a Boy Scout group or a Girl Scout group or a FFA group or just you
Honor
on
Society
your own
student need
want
community
to
service.
volunteer, you just call Pere Marquette State Park and ask for Randy. He'll love that I said that.
With that being said, all of you, best of luck June the 8th. I'll be up at some point in time. I'm going to try to bring the nephews out because it's just fun to really be out there and enjoy a beautiful state park with 3 great agencies coming together and some great volunteers, some over 30 vendors, and of course you, your family, and your friends to go out for the 35th, the Big 3-5 annual Two Rivers Family Fishing Fair over at Pere Marquette State Park, June the 8th. We'll see you there. And anything else I'm forgetting about today?
No, I don't think so.
9:19's the time. We're going to be talking to Kristen with Centerstone right after this brief break as we tackle the very important topic of substance use disorder treatment and the options that are available as we continue our conversations with Centerstone.
Since 1993, Sparks Junk Removal is always adapting to the needs of our clients. That is why we now offer weekly trash pickup for selected areas. Plus, we offer driveway-safe rubber-tired dumpster rental. Give us a call today at 618-781-1407 or visit us at sparksjunkremoval.net.
Macias Insurance Agency, providing quality products with extremely competitive prices. As an independent provider, we source multiple companies to offer the best rates possible, covering auto, home, business, and life insurance. Our goal is to provide quality service that meets and exceeds customer expectations. You can rest easy knowing the Macias team is working round the clock to ensure that both you and the most important parts of your life are covered. Our qualified professionals make the insurance process easy so you can live carefree and focus on what matters most. Visit MaciasInsuranceAgency.com today to find out what our team can do for you.
Not sure if you've noticed, but those advertised prices from the other dealers are just a bunch of blah, blah, blah. At Roberts Motors, the advertised price is the price you pay. And that, my friend, is great news for you. Don't fall for their so-called incentives that will leave you banging your head against the wall. Go with Roberts Motors. Prices you can trust and people you will like. That's the Roberts Motors way. And trust me, it's the way to go.
Has free checking become a thing of the past? Not if Liberty has anything to say about it. With 3 free personal checking options and even a free business checking account, Free is alive and well at Liberty Bank, the local bank that gives you free checking choices and more cashing in your pocket. Bank locally, bank Liberty. For more information, visit www.bankliberty.com.
RiverBender Radio has built 3 great new stations just for you in the Riverbend. The Eagle, the Riverbend's classic rock station. The Bridge, hit music for the Riverbend. And The River, today's country, and all your favorites. Check them out today at RiverBenderRadio.com.
Welcome back to our daily show. Here's CJ.
It's very challenging to live with whatever we carry.
Centerstone is a one-of-a-kind place.
And it was the best decision I ever made in my life. There's nothing holding me back anymore.
Welcome back to this Wednesday morning. It is the 29th day of May. It's 9:23 in downtown Alton, and Kristen joins us from Centerstone as we continue our very important conversations on substance use disorder treatment and the amazing ways that Centerstone can help us battle those, and really just the information before you need to know it if that's the case. Kristen, if you're ready to go, how are we doing this morning? Let me bring you on the Zoom here and go picture in picture. Good morning and happy Wednesday to you.
Yeah, happy Wednesday to you too.
Well, Kristen, right off the bat, take me through your day-to-day at Centerstone so our audience can get to know you a little bit more.
Yeah, so I am a licensed counselor, and I work for Centerstone. I work through our grants department. So the grant that I'm a coordinator for it's called PYO Treat. So I know that we had previously talked about Youth and Family Tree. That was a 5-year grant that ended in March. And then this grant, PYO Treat, seamlessly took over. So it stands for Preventing Youth Overdose, Treatment, Recovery, Education, Awareness, and Training. And I started here in January.
And, you know, Kristen, I can only imagine how grants are crucial for, you know, upholding Centerstone's mission because, you know, folks at home, I don't think realize that this isn't, money's not, flowing in, and you have to be able to secure those entities when they're available. And take us through, some of the work that you do day in and day out to make sure that you guys are, hitting those grants, making sure you're receiving them, and doing the best you can to, put yourself out there to receive a potential grant too.
Yeah, so luckily, Centerstone is part of like a larger, we're more than just in Illinois. We're in 5 states total, and based out of Tennessee. And in Tennessee, they have a team that is full of professional grant writers, right? So they, my director helps to find grants and applies for them through SAMHSA, which is, the substance use, the federal program that is funds all these grants. And they apply for them and are usually pretty successful with obtaining them for the community.
Well, and to me, I just think it's really interesting to hear that portion of it, to see, how you guys are able to keep growing and keep adding these really innovative programs that help so many. And Kristen, since January, what have you noticed just being at Centerstone in these 5 months?
So it's actually funny. I didn't mention this, but I've worked at Centerstone before.
Nice.
Yeah. So actually when it was, when it was Wellspring Resources, I worked there. I worked there for about 4 years. And then I took about a 4-year hiatus from Centerstone, went and did some different things. But since being back, it's such a positive culture. It's strange coming back like post-COVID, right? Yeah. So the office is open. They do in-person appointments. They do a lot of virtual things too, like this, and also sessions with clients. It's been great because it allows more people access to care. Yeah. So if previously you couldn't receive treatment because you didn't have a ride, you lived in a rural community, those barriers are no longer barriers because of things like virtual appointments and being able to employ people who maybe don't only live in like the upper Madison County area to provide services for people all over Illinois.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm glad to be back.
Well, and that's a great point, because COVID sucked for a lot of things. We can be honest about that. But what it did is at least let us be creative in a way of how can we get things done more efficiently, and to be able to provide, especially in rural communities that don't have, a lot of access to, these, resources that we have here in Alton and, other spots, to have telehealth care and have telemedicine is a huge thing. And I love what you guys do with it. Now, as we get into this grant, take us through a brief overview, if you could, just to simplify it for our audience about, what this really tackles, who can be a part of this, what Centerstone uses this for, all of those good FAQs.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are a substance use and treatment grant. We, we serve individuals ages 10 to 25 who live in Illinois. Our grant outlines that you have to live in like 12 counties in Illinois, but we will not turn down a referral from anywhere. If we have the capacity, we're going to provide the service.
Wonderful.
And we have multiple different levels of care that we provide. So we do early intervention, which is maybe for someone that doesn't have a substance use diagnosis, but maybe they've used a couple times, and they just need more information, more education, more resources to be able to not go down that like full path of addiction, right? And then we have 2 different programs, we call them evidence-based practices.
Yep.
That we provide for, it's called like level 1 treatment. So these people do have diagnoses. One of the programs we use is called Dimensions. It's for tobacco or nicotine cessation. And it typically, people are in the program like 6 to 7 weeks, depending on the person. And then we have a program called Matrix. That is a 16-week program minimum. And that's for anyone using any type of substance. So it could be alcohol, opioids, marijuana, nicotine, anything like that. It's just a little bit more intensive of a program. That program also contains a parent or caregiver education portion, which we know is so vital in recovery. And then we also have within this grant, which we didn't have at the previous grant, was a medication assisted treatment portion. So if someone needs assistance in getting off of substances through those medications like Suboxone, Vivitrol, Methadone, those can be provided through the grant.
And Kristen, not to cut you off, but you hit on something there, and I didn't even think about this at all, especially when it comes to our youth. I mean, Alton's experiencing right now an influx of vaping addictions from middle schoolers and high schoolers, and it's, leading to some bad things. And there's some things being done in the city government to try to combat it. But is that one of the treatments that Centerstone offers with this grant? Because I heard you talk about nicotine and tobacco, and that's a huge thing for parents in this area, because when their child stops, when they take that vape away, it's pretty tumultuous for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, addiction is real, right? And so vapes are unfortunately marketed towards the youth. I mean, it's no coincidence that they're colorful, they are small, they're bright, they have specific flavors, right? They taste like candy or fruit or whatever it may be. And yes, so if someone is using a vape, they would qualify for one of our programs.
Interesting.
And I would say vaping and marijuana are our two highest referrals currently. And a lot of our referrals come from the schools, because there's such an influx of use at school. And it's addiction. So it's not like, at some point, like, right, you might choose to pick it up for the first time, but people don't realize how truly addictive nicotine can be. And with having that ease of access with the vape, they can get hooked pretty quick.
Well, Kristen, not to cut you off too, but I mean, just for parents at home, think about, if you're going through quitting cigarettes, and you're having a hard time focusing, if your child's trying to learn and develop in school and they're hitting their vape all the time, and then for 2 hours during class, they aren't focused because they're worried about hitting that vape again. And that's, something I wouldn't even have thought about in that development process too, just learning and growing as a person and a student.
Yes, absolutely. So kids are trying to leave class more often because they want to go to the bathroom. Yep. And you're right, they're focused more on their brain's telling them to focus on that need of that nicotine rather than what their teacher is saying. And I know we were probably going to talk about this later, but some of the schools have actually partnered with Centerstone in our grant to utilize us as like an alternative for punishment. So say a kid gets caught with a vape at school, a lot of the times it's, just suspend them, right? Give them a 3, 5, 10-day suspension. But as an alternative, the schools have been offering, okay, so you can take this punishment, you can take this suspension, or we're going to recommend you complete this program, to avoid they have like frequent flyers, right? So it's usually the same kids getting caught, the same kids getting in trouble. They want to stop that pattern and stop that recurrence within their students. So they offer treatment as an alternative, which I think is so great, because we know that typically punishment doesn't necessarily change behavior.
Heck, you're just giving them 3 days to hit that vape at home,
Right. Yep. And then they're just at home without supervision. So that's something that we've been doing, is trying to partner with our local schools to be that support system. And we can see the kids at school, we can see them in the in their via telehealth, or they can come to our office in Alton.
And, just going and diving right into this as we're getting our familiarities out of the way here, Kristen, I wanted to ask you about the different types of intervention when it comes to this. And, whenever we're talking about this and it's offered by the Youth and Family Tree Program, how are each of the interventions, designated specifically, if there are different types of intervention that go and support the youth that are struggling with that substance addiction, that substance use, be it marijuana, nicotine, or you name it?
Yeah. So everyone starts with an assessment, and that assessment kind of is a deep dive into what's going on. And based off that assessment, the clinician will refer them to whatever program they think is most appropriate. Typically, more people are in our Matrix program than any other program, just because Matrix is meant for addiction in general, not a specific substance. So it doesn't matter what substance you're using. Matrix delves in addiction in general, not substance specific things.
Right.
If that makes sense.
That does make sense. 100%. And Kristen, after you have that first initial meeting, what do the follow-ups look like after that? And once you've identified, and once you started making a little bit of progress, do the conversations alter in tones, in terms of vocabulary? Do they change at all, or they stay pretty consistent?
The wording is consistent as far as like the terms that are used throughout the treatment or throughout the evidence-based practices. But a lot of things, they build on each other, right? So maybe in that first session after your assessment, it's heavy on the education and the brain and how the brain works and how addiction affects the brain. And then in the next section, you touch on the addiction and how it affects the brain, but then you're like learning different skills and being educated on different things. So every week you're learning new topics and new skills, but it's all based off of that like base level education that you're receiving through the treatment.
And, I know I want to ask you more about different portions of this program, but a brief follow-up to that. When they're working on some of those topics and some of those lessons, do you hear feedback of not just, will this help me battling my, addiction or my need, but it also helped me develop tools for just life? Because some of those, tools that you're learning to battle your addictions, no matter what it is, are going to help you down the road.
Absolutely. And everyone has what I call maladaptive coping skills, right?
Yep.
Skills that we use that aren't necessarily the healthiest for us, whether it be, food, hanging out with the wrong people, substances, no matter what it is, like the program does educate on healthier ways to cope, healthier people to be around, healthier situations to put yourself in, not just substance based. The program for Matrix is also, it's heavy on scheduling, right? So being free, having too much free time typically leads to us seeking out things to fill that time with. And it focuses on filling that time with healthier activities or healthier people, rather than maybe the people or places we were going that led us to the path of addiction or the path of to those maladapting coping strategies.
One thing that I've heard just in conversations I've had with Centerstone and just hearing about different stories and just talking to folks myself that come on this show and are honest about some of the battles that they're facing with some of our Celebrate Recovery classes that are around and all those. One thing I've heard time and time again is, I just don't have anything that interests me. I don't have any interest or hobbies. And what I've come to notice just talking with you guys and just different folks is that after a couple of weeks, we realized that, well, the reason we weren't interested is we had a different, we had something on the brain that wasn't really about trying something new. It was just about feeding our addiction or feeding our hunger for whatever we needed. And then all of a sudden their eyes open up to all the opportunities and different things they can do to benefit their time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, especially depending on the substance you're using, if it's easily available, it's harder to find. You have to spend so much time trying to get the money, get the substance, trying to obtain it, that it is very easy probably to lose yourself and to forget who you are or what you liked before those things. And if someone says, I don't like anything, I would encourage them to try everything then, right? So we live in a wonderful community. And Madison County in general has tons of free positive activities people can attend to meet new people, learn about new things, that are pretty easily accessible.
And Kristen, before I move down my questions here, I wanted to ask one other follow-up to something you said that's just still sticking to me. You said that you guys treat from 10 to 20. Is that correct? And that
10 to 25. So for this grant specific, obviously Centerstone does like very early age. One of our grants starts at 3 all the way up to end of life. But this grant specifically is 10 to 25. So it's a very wide range.
Well, and too, it wouldn't surprise me if you said that we've already helped people at each one of those age levels too. And that's, to me, the most eye-opening part of this conversation is that when I think of a 10-year-old, I'm not thinking about any type of classes or anything of program or what's going on at home. I'm just thinking, go outside, play in the yard, and go have fun.
Yeah.
But it also shows that, right in our own backyard, there's a lot of folks that are facing these problems at all ages.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know that we've had specifically a 10-year-old yet,
Yeah.
but sixth grade.
Yeah.
Sixth grade is 11, 12, right?
Yeah.
And it's more accessible and more prevalent than we would like to think.
That's what I was kind of,
Unfortunately.
just what I was kind of getting at, because sixth grade is to me, it's like, that's 11, that's 12. And
Yeah.
and one thing Chris and I've talked to a Centerstone so much about, and it seems to be a common consensus, is talking about peer recovery specialists and just how they contribute to the successes of programs and different programs, not specifically just this one, but all throughout the organization. And from your experience, how do these peer recovery specialists contribute in this case to this program and to the youth and family tree?
Yeah, so with Treat currently, we do not have a peer recovery
Okay.
specialist. We have a recovery specialist. So the difference is that lived experience, right? So peer recovery specialists have that lived experience themselves. And we've had them we've had before in the past. Just our current person has done does not have that lived experience. However, when we did have one, it was nice because, if we were in a group or something and someone couldn't think of something related to the topic, I would ask the peer, I'm like, hey, like when you were struggling with this, like, what did this look like for you? Sometimes people feel like you could never understand what I'm going through if you haven't gone through it yourself.
Yep.
And having a peer person kind of decreases those barriers and those stigmas, and they see someone who's like living recovery currently, so they know that it's possible and that it's hopeful. And then our recovery specialist, I would guess that most people have someone in their lives, whether it's a friend, a family member, a neighbor who struggles with addiction.
100%.
So you can see that in your own circles, but they take on more of like a case manager role. So they help the client to break down any barriers. Are you having troubles with transportation? Do you need housing resources? Do you need, like, what can we help you with? Basically, like, the clinician is going to focus on the substance use and the mental health. Like, what else? What other barriers do you have that we could help you to break down? So we've had, in the past, we help people get linked to like a primary care physician, a dentist, anything that they need help with. The recovery specialist can also kind of help the clients hone in on their skills, right? So they get a lot of education through the therapist, and the recovery specialist or a peer recovery specialist could also further educate them and help them practice those skills to use to aid in their sobriety. Most recently, one of our clients who had some interesting and unique obstacles in their way they said, I want to get a job. I'm bored, and that is why I started using. I need to fill my time. So this RS helped them to navigate the system, help them to obtain a worker's permit so that they were able to try and find a job and have that permit in place ahead of time.
That's really cool. I mean, and it just, just a taste of just that alone to me shows our audience, just like we have each and every time we talk, is just how important that just those additional support figures are, and really how much further that could lead to their care. And now, as we keep going forward here, and I gave you a list of questions and beat around the horn a long time here today, Kristen, but I'm really enjoying this conversation, because my thought is there's no better time to learn about this information than now, because you never know when you're going to need to know it. And, when we're talking about, youth, especially this program, 10 to 25, motivation and all of that can sometimes be a factor, because when I was younger, I didn't realize the importance of certain things, and not necessarily this program, but you lose sight of the big picture pretty quickly. Are there any incentives for milestones, progress being made, maybe even attendance in this program that you can fill us in on?
Yeah, so with incentives, so part of receiving a grant and federal funds, right, is that you have to have an evaluation team. So our evaluation team has incentivized their meetings with clients to help them attend those meetings. So our clients will meet with evaluation 3 to 4 times throughout their time. And 2 of those times after they meet with them, they can receive a gift card. So at the 3-month mark for evaluation, they receive a $10 gift card. And then at the 6-month mark, they receive a $20 gift card. And I said, like, aside from like working on their goals, achieving sobriety, all nice rewards, the gift cards are tangible, right? And we all like to be rewarded in tangible items.
Well,
they also. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, don't let me cut you off, Kristen. I'm sorry. Sorry.
No, you're good. We also, and this might seem like such a little thing, but especially like the teens get excited about it, is we give them like a graduation certificate, right?
Yeah.
So it's a tangible piece of paper that they have that they can show to their school, their parents, maybe they're referred by probation, to show that they've accomplished something and it's something that they can be proud of.
Well,
and also we had talked about the schools referring. So their incentive there is that they don't get the suspensions or the expulsions and things like that.
One I've also heard, Kristen, just in previous chats with Centerstone, is that even just, celebrating just milestones in conversation can go a long way. Like, hey, I've noticed that you've really been taking this seriously, or you've been really hitting this you've been really hitting this task, each and every week, and just keep it up, or happy birthday, or, all of those little things that just kind of give you the extra bit of wind in your sail. And, as we keep moving down the gauntlet here, as we have a couple of minutes left, mental health and substance use, often go hand in hand together, Kristen. And how does the program address mental health disorders in conjunction with that substance use disorder that maybe they're experiencing?
Yeah, absolutely. So in my experience, it's never usually just substance use, right? Yeah. It's usually mental health, and we're self-medicating for a substance. And Centerstone embraces that, right? So we're embracing the fact that these things go hand in hand with each other, and we support both needs. A lot of the treatment within the different levels of care and the different programs within our program focus on mental health and overall wellness is a way of decreasing substance use. So now, say someone has high level need for mental health and high level need for substance use, maybe they just meet with our clinicians more often. We have clients currently that will maybe do one full session, an hour a week for their mental health, and then the other session that week is focused on their substance use. We could try and meet the clients where they're at and whatever works best for them, but we definitely address both, because you can't just, it's like, you can't just address the substance use and not address the mental health, because then you have a higher chance of lapsing or of relapsing. Right.
Yeah.
So,
well, and I think that's a good point too, because, especially in the journey, and, I know of this, you think, halfway through, like, oh man, everything's turned around and I'm good to go because I don't have the craving, or I'm not, withdrawing or having all of these needs or these urges, but you aren't fixing the mental health side of thing. And within 6 months, you're going right back down the path because of just that cycle. And it's really great to know that the program addresses both of those. Now, one final one for you, Kristen. What kind of support and education does the program offer to the families and loved ones of the participants? Because so many times we talk about the individual going through that battle of a lifetime, but what we don't talk about is that family that sometimes is there, especially when it's youth, that are with them, around them on this battle, their friends, that village. Is there any opportunities for them to learn too?
yeah. And you said the word, right? Village. It takes a village. So, it definitely, as I had mentioned at the very beginning, there's a parent education and support portion to the program. If there is higher need, our case manager or our clinician can provide that education to the parent. What we often see is, and it's not always super effective, is punishment, right? Punishment is a form of trying to get people to stop using substances. But typically punishing kind of like pushes people away. It has them building up walls and barriers to receiving treatment. It cuts off that communication. It decreases trust within the client. So we try to support and educate and find a middle ground that works for both like the family and the client. And alternative perspectives to treatment and to facing substance use. because we know it is in its own mental health issue. So we educate them on the science of addiction, how the brain works, and also like provide outside resources as needed, such as like your Al-Anons and things like that.
Is it important for let's just talk youth specifically before I let you go. And this is something I just thought of just by, hearing you answer that question. Is there a moment to where let's say the parents of a teenager that is going through maybe a marijuana addiction, or, they're going through maybe a nicotine marijuana and they're taking Adderall at, high school, because that is, to get through tests and get SAT scores or whatever you're doing. Is there ever a moment to where the parent goes, you talk to the parent and go, listen, some of this does start at home and there's there could have been a home life balance that wasn't appropriate and that leads to certain things. But how important is it to realize you can't just put it all on one person. This didn't start because of, cousin Joe down the road. It was a combination of things. Or does it start from one person, and does there need to be accountability at that level?
Oh man, that is such a hard question, because I feel like it's different for every person, right? So you have to look at genetic factors. Are you genetically predisposed to addiction? Do you have family members in your life that have addiction issues? Do you hang out with a group of friends that all use? Are you the friend that introduced it to people? I think you have to look at every part of life, every part of that person, and kind of figure out like the where and the why it happened and how it happened. And you can talk about that, but also you have to have a plan moving forward. So like, if I can't change my situation, I can't change the people I'm going to be around, what am I willing to change about myself so that I don't go down that path again? It is an interesting situation with marijuana being legal in our state, that sometimes the parents of our clients use. And it's really hard to get youth to understand that just because it's legal doesn't mean it's legal for you, or that it's a good thing for you, right? We know that alcohol can be a very nasty thing for a lot of people, and it leads down a bad path and affects people at all stages of their life. So just because things are legal doesn't mean they're healthy or good for you. So it's a lot of education and a lot of trying to like change the way people think and get them to think in like a healthier way.
100%. And Kristen, I've loved every bit of this conversation. I think that this has had to have been one of the longest Centerstone segments, but I've just learned so much. And I gave you 5 questions, and almost 35 minutes later, here we are. And I just want to say thank you for your time. And is there anything else I'm forgetting about before we say goodbye for now?
I don't think so. If anyone has someone that they think would be a good person to participate in our program, they can reach out to Centerstone. We also have like an email distribution that they can email me, and I check those emails every day. It's treat, TREAT, at centerstone.org. If anyone has any questions, I'm more than willing to answer any questions or help anyone navigate through whatever it is they need support with.
Absolutely. And Kristen, thank you so much again for your time, and really just appreciate all the great work that you guys do at Centerstone, and we'll talk again soon.
All right. Thanks so much. It was nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. At 9:53, a quick break. We come back. Daily Show hits you right after this in the heart of the 618.
No matter the season, Play It Again Sports in Edwardsville has the gear the athletes need to get in the game. Whether you're shopping for the newest sports equipment or saving money on quality used gear, Play It Again Sports carries what you need to maximize performance to get the most out of every swing, kick, stroke, or shot. We'll even buy your used goods, paying cash on the spot. We carry all the gear for all the sports all year long. We're your hometown sporting goods store. Play It Again Sports, conveniently located at 4 Club Center Court in Edwardsville.
I just got a new air conditioner. Top of the line.
I bet mine's better. It's so efficient and quiet, I hardly know it's running.
I've got you both trumped. I've got a Linux.
So do I.
Barrett Heating and Cooling carries Linux products to meet any budget. Don't gamble with your energy dollars. Call Barrett Heating and Cooling and start saving today.
Lennox. Innovation never felt so good.
With over 20 years of experience, Wilson's Tree Service has the expertise to handle all of your tree care needs. Licensed and fully insured, their team of experts are dedicated to providing reliable service. Plus, with a 24-hour emergency service line, Wilson's will always be there for you. Don't risk tackling that timber by yourself. Trust the local professionals at Wilson's Tree Service. Visit treeservicealtonil.org to get started today.
Welcome to Evergreen Place, a community that embodies joyful living, independence, and financial freedom for seniors. If you're looking for a full day of activities or to relax in your apartment, we have you covered. Located on the Alton Memorial Campus. To know us is to love us. Experience the difference at Evergreen Place.
Life's better when you're under our roof. That's because our expert agents will make you feel totally protected with the right auto and home coverage at the right price. Also, you can enjoy the dreams you've worked so hard to achieve. American Family Insurance.
Since 1993, Sparks Junk Removal is always adapting to the needs of our clients. That is why we now offer weekly trash pickup for selected areas. Plus, we offer driveway-safe rubber-tired dumpster rental. Give us a call today at 618-781-1407 or visit us at sparksjunkremoval.net.
Not sure if you've noticed, but those advertised prices from the other dealers are just a bunch of blah, blah, blah. At Roberts Motors, the advertised price is the price you pay. And that, my friend, is great news for you. Don't fall for their so-called incentives that will leave you banging your head against the wall. Go with Roberts Motors. Prices you can trust and people you will like. That's the Roberts Motors way. And trust me, it's the way to go.
In the heart-pounding moments of the game, every move counts, just like in chiropractic care. Dr. Andrew Dykman of Rosewood Chiropractic champions this belief, supporting our teams in every drive and supporting his patients for nearly 20 years, offering affordable, compassionate, all-natural wellness care. Call 618-259-2676 or visit rosewoodchiropractic.com today. Welcome back to our daily show. Here's CJ. I think this is the first time I've been by myself since I've been back on the show. Kind of feels weird. I don't know what to do with my hands, like Ricky Bobby, you know? Anyway, welcome back to the Daily Show. Hey, wanted to show you this. So we're going to be talking to Jen Papin in about 5 minutes or so. And Jen is going to be talking about cicadas. This is called Surviving Cicada Season. And the reason being is my grandma's house, I was talking to my aunt about this because in Gillis, you know, in that North Alton kind of north side area, it's full of cicadas. It's insane. I would have never thought the little tree line would have been just dead, you know, full of them. Well, then in DeAdrian, it's the same problem. I mean, my grandma's house is just covered in those darn things, and you got to go in and knock them all out. I mean, it's just, they're just everywhere. There's piles of them at the bottom of her tree. Not nearly as bad as Jen's was, but Jen's going to come in and fill us in on just kind of how they're dealing with it, some of the research she did on them. But let me show you one of the wheelbarrows. 13 wheelbarrows of cicadas the last time around when she had to her and her husband cleaned up the mess here, and this is one of the wheelbarrows of cicadas. Imagine 13. You're gonna hear it in this conversation. It says like Monty Python, bring out the dead. You know, I mean, it's really that's what it's like. So we're gonna be talking about the cicadas, learning a little bit more from Jen and what she's kind of discovered on her own as she's researched this because she knew it was coming, and we'll talk about all of it. But man, question for you: are you guys experiencing them? Really, are like the 13 years? Are they really that? Are they bad for you guys where you are? Because I don't know. We have some folks that watch in St. Charles County. We even have folks that live in England that watch the show sometimes for the All-Star Award, and thanks for doing that. But for all of you, whether you're in Edwardsville, St. Charles, you're in Grafton, Jerseyville, are you dealing with the problem? Because for my house, number one, there's not really a lot of trees around me. But number two, there's just no cicadas, and downtown Alton's quiet as a whistle, or quiet as a library. Not real. A whistle's loud. I guess a non-blown, Anyway, hey, it's coming on 10 o'clock, and we're getting ready for top of the hour news, and we are going to be talking to Jen Papin about cicada season. But hold on there. Let me fill you in on my folks and friends at Village Dispensary. We'll be over there June the 8th for a live show, and I'm planning on a lot of fun. I don't have the FCC hovering over me. That's why we can do a live show over at Village Dispensary, and that's why I love being over here at RiverBender.com. If you want to find your pot of gold, head over to Village Dispensary. Their inventory is as legendary as Willie's Tour Bus with vapes, flowers, topicals, tinctures, edibles, concentrates, and even accessories to make your day a little bit brighter. The staff friendlier than Woody Harrelson at a hemp convention, and they'll have you in and out in no time. Actually, fast times is what I like to say. Visit villagedispo.com to check out their top quality products and their inventory. And just remember, at Village Dispensary, it's locally owned and union built and just some of the best staff around. When you stop by, don't forget to tell them CJ sent you over their way. That's Village Dispensary or villagedispo.com. It's 10:01. We'll take a quick break. Top of the hour news. You know what? We don't need to take a break. I'm tired of breaks. Let's do this now. Top of the hour news here on RiverBender.com at 10:01 on this 29th day of May. A fun fact for you: did you know that honey never expires, never spoils? Archaeologists have found pots of honey in ancient Egyptian tombs that are actually over 3,000 years old and still perfectly edible. Now, I dare you to try it first, and then I'll wait a few days and see how you're feeling. We'll take you to Alton first at top of the hour news at 10:01. And Tommy Whitehorn is a 14-year-old from Alton, and, well, not going to really have the traditional summer of a 14-year-old. He is set to make his mark on the music industry this summer. Known as T-Bucks, Whitehorn will travel to New York and Atlanta for interviews and promote his debut single, Belt Time, which will be released on the 7th of June through Sony Records. The young artist, who started making music at just 9 years old, emphasizes authenticity in his work, avoiding explicit content and sticking true to his age. Inspired by Lil Baby and Future, T-Bucks highlights his individuality and aims to be a role model for his younger siblings and peers. And I might have to call up to Sydney and see if we can get Tommy on the show. That'd be cool to have him on before he goes off and makes a name for himself. That'd be wonderful. And congratulations to Tommy on just a really cool summer. The debut single, Belt Time, coming out June the 7th. A man from Fidelity is facing a felony DUI after a cocaine-fueled car accident reportedly caused death of his passenger. Here's what we know. Joshua E. Bailey, 45, was charged with aggravated driving under the influence, causing an accident resulting in death. On March the 6th, Bailey allegedly drove a white 2010 Ford van while under the influence of cocaine and failed to stop at a stop sign at the intersection of Illinois 16 and Fidelity Road, Oak Rest Road. The accident purportedly resulted in the death of his passenger. Bailey, charged with a Class 2 felony, has since been released from custody. His preliminary hearing is set in less than a month's time for the 26th of June, and please note that charges are based upon probable cause and do not indicate guilt. All accused are presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Out of Granite City, U.S. Attorney Rochelle Odd-Crow did announce that Markeisha A. Hill, 35, of Granite City, is facing federal charges of access device fraud, aggravated identity theft, and possession of identification documents. Hill, a former certified nursing assistant, allegedly used elderly patients' credit card and bank account information for personal purchases without their consent. The offenses occurred while Hill was employed at the University Nursing and Rehabilitation in Edwardsville and Meridian Village in Glen Carbon. The U.S. Secret Service and local police departments are investigating. If convicted, Hill faces substantial prison time, and please note that an indictment is just a formal charge. An unexpected power outage left several thousand Ameren, Illinois customers without electricity in Edwardsville in the afternoon of Tuesday, May the 28th, and throughout the surrounding areas. Ameren, Illinois spokesperson Brian Brex confirmed that crews were immediately dispatched to patrol and inspect power lines in the affected regions. Despite thorough investigations, the cause of the outage, it remains unknown at the time of the publication. Edwardsville Fire Chief James Whiteford reported that power was fully restored, and it was restored in all of the City of Edwardsville offices, including the fire and police stations. Further updates on the incident will be provided as soon as we learn a little bit more. The National Weather Service in St. Louis has released a report detailing that 5 tornadoes swept through the Metro East vicinity on Sunday, May the 26th. Then one of the most significant commenced in Oakville, Missouri, with winds peaking at 97 miles an hour. This EF1 caused considerable damage before dissipating west of Columbia. Additional tornadoes in New Baden and Carlisle Lake area with wind speeds up to 97 resulted in similar destruction, including tree damage and structural impacts. 2 further EF1 tornadoes affected the Forbes Lake area in Marion County, and fortunately, no injuries were reported. One final bit of news for you today, and that's in local sports. Tony Eberlin is a rising sophomore star at Edwardsville High and achieved a remarkable pitching feat in the IHSA Class 4A Regional Final on May the 25th at Tom Powell Field. Eberlin allowed just one hit, a single by Jack Twinheffel in the 6th inning, and struck out 12 to secure a 1-0 victory over O'Fallon. His dominant performance required only 86 pitches and advanced the Tigers on down to the postseason. Feeling confident and supported by early runs from his teammates, Eberling expressed optimism for the upcoming game, where he believes his team was peaking at the right time, and he became a Spencer Holmes Athlete of the Month for Edwardsville. And thank you so much to Spencer Holmes and our other new Athlete of the Month sponsor, BJ's Printables, for really joining us at RiverBender and helping us share those stories of our rising athletes through the Riverbend in Edwardsville and throughout just the local area. Right now, 10:07, let's take a quick check at your weather before we take a look at downtown Alton. As you see on your screen, it's 66 degrees. It feels like 73 out there. Talk about humid. Mostly sunny and pleasant throughout the day and tonight. One word for you: clear. Nothing to worry about. Temperatures will reach 76 degrees today, drop down to 52 overnight on Thursday, a high of 77, a low of 55. On Friday, the last day of May, partly sunny skies, a high of 76, a low of 61. But on Saturday and Sunday, get out the towboat. It's going to rain. On the first day of June, a 90% chance of thunderstorms, partly sunny, partly cloudy skies, a high of 78 and a low of 61. And then on Sunday, a high of 79, a low of 66, and a 95% chance of more rain hitting the 618. So dry out the yard while you can and cut your grass, because I will tell you that's when I wrap up the news. For time and temperature throughout the day, give this number a ring, 618-465-4545, this time powered by Tom Lane, your local State Farm agent. And also, while I have you, in just a few short days, you and your family and your friends can storm the beach from 6 to 9 p.m. on the 7th of June at Raging Rivers Water Park. This is really cool. This is to support the National Memorial for Military Ascent in Grafton. The profits benefit this amazing memorial getting put in. And you can take photos with a mermaid, kids' activities, patriotic attire contest for kids and adults alike, a silent auction, 50-50 raffle, music by Jake Weber and the Lonesome Drifters. Tickets just $40 for adults and $20 for kids 12 and under. Concessions will be available, but your child must be accompanied by an adult. Purchase a ticket in advance at any amount and receive a entry into the 50-50 as well. For more information on this, head on over to RagingRivers.com or click on the RiverBender.com wallpaper and just enjoy the 7th day of June as we salute veterans past and present at Storm the Beach at Raging Rivers Water Park, now celebrating its 35th season. 10:09 is the time, and before we come back and talk to Jen Papin, let's take a look at Skycam. Let's see how downtown Alton's looking on this 29th day of May. We'll come back. Daily Show hits you more on a Wednesday next.
I had an amazing experience with Dr. Haug and her team. I came here when I was 10 years old to get my braces on. Now I'm 28 years old, braces off, and I get so many compliments on my smile. It's helped me thrive in my career as a news reporter, and also as Miss Missouri USA, I took the stage with confidence, knowing my smile was gonna make me look like $1 million. I've never felt better and more confident because of my smile.
Life's better when you're under the American Family Insurance roof because they know your house is home base for their dreams. Whether it's a kid like me aiming for the big leagues, ready? Future rocket scientist, or a budding prima ballerina. When you feel totally protected, your family's free to pursue their dreams. She's good.
Let's go.
American Family Insurance.
No matter the season, Play It Again Sports in Edwardsville has the gear the athletes need to get in the game. Whether you're shopping for the newest sports equipment or saving money on quality used gear, Play It Again Sports carries what you need to maximize performance to get the most out of every swing, kick, stroke, or shot. We'll even buy your used goods, paying cash on the spot. We carry all the gear for all the sports all year long. We're your hometown sporting goods store. Play It Again Sports, conveniently located at 4 Club Center Court in Edwardsville. Picture This and More has been a trusted name in the Alton community for more than 30 years, with the last 3 being right here on Broadway. We specialize in quality framing at affordable prices. We also feature works by local artists because we're proud of our community. If you have valued treasures to display and preserve, we're sure to have the perfect fit with our large selection of custom framing and display options. Whatever color, shape, or size, Picture This and More has the look you need. Stop by today and let us help you with your next project.
You're listening to Our Daily Show with CJ Nasello on RiverBender.com.
We walk the line and try to see, falling behind.
Welcome in. Not 9 o'clock. We're going to be talking at 10:30 with Jen Papin because we need to survive these cicadas, and nobody knows more about it than Jen and her many buckets and buckets and buckets. It was like Monty Python when they brought the dead out, you know, in 2011.
Bring out your dead. It's true.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Are we surviving?
Not as well as I'd hoped we would survive.
Right off the bat, you were prepared. I mean, for months, you were posting on your Facebook.
Well, I'll tell you, we lived through this 13 years ago, and it was high up, at least in the top 5 worst experiences of my life. So I thought if I prepared heavily, I would be less afraid. I was wrong.
So take us to 2011, 13. Was it 13
7,
years ago?
I think.
Yeah.
A
long time ago.
Yeah.
I seen the pictures. You had stacks of these things, like a foot deep in your yard.
Well, you know, they say that, you know, so many can hatch in a meter, you know, and we had triple easy, the norm. And an entomologist who was visiting stopped in my yard and said he'd never seen a hatch like that. So we burned them when they all died because they smell like 100 dead raccoons or anything dead.
Yeah.
It's just awful, you know. we burned 13 wheelbarrows full of them. We had to scoop them up with snow shovels and burn them a week before my sister's wedding reception in my backyard.
Oh, God. Did it smell better by then?
It did. It did. I will say burning dead cicadas also doesn't create a good smell, but it was better than the rotten raccoon smell, so...
Was it so bad you couldn't even start cleaning them up until it was all done?
We have started earlier this time, and when I say we, I mean my husband.
Good call. Good job, Steve.
Yeah, because I didn't mind it when they hatched.
Right.
I have tried very hard to embrace the whole process of this, but once they fly and get caught in my hair, it's over.
And when no one realizes, because around here, like downtown, there's nothing, you can't even hear a cicada or see a case. At my house, you really can't either,
we have literally thousands.
I can't even get over it.
Thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands.
Do you know why that's the case? Did that guy have any idea?
Well, there are reasons for that, and there's reasons why sometimes some neighborhoods have none. And, some of our newer developed neighborhoods took down their big trees. And they don't have a lot of mature trees around. We have some great big trees. My hatch tree in the backyard is a maple.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, they love it because they're the longest living bug. And they eat maple for 13 years underneath there. And it's sweet and it's good. That oaks are the same. Fruit trees, they love things like that. They don't like the sweet gum trees. And they don't like anything like a pine because they will land up, the females, once they have their eggs, will land up there, and there's so many needles that the nymphs can't get into the ground in 13 weeks. So they're real smart about what they choose and clearly make millions of these things. And that's their whole predatory, that's their whole way of surviving. So many hatch that even if you lose half, which clearly we have lost in this first few weeks, that many still survive.
That's wild to me. It's crazy because I just found out that these things are alive underground for 13 years.
It is. They're the longest living bug.
No idea.
Yeah.
Now, are you a bug person to begin with?
Absolutely not.
That's what I thought.
I grew up in Miami, Florida, and the horror of my life was flying cockroaches. And I'm sorry, but these look exactly like flying cockroaches.
They do.
And on top of that, they make an aggressive noise. I'm going to call that noise aggressive, even though the scientists say it's an emergency call. When they hit you or whatever, they're like saying, oh, there's whatever. But it's disturbing.
It is.
And they do fly into you quite a bit.
So, for the record, we don't have both broods here.
No, we do absolutely not. And, I think there's been some misunderstandings about that because I think the news has not done a good job of explaining. They just tried to freak us out about the 1713. It is the first time since Thomas Jefferson was president that they both hatched at the same time. But that hatch occurs north of Springfield. That's the Great Northern Brood.
Oh, so they can have that mess.
That's right. And that brood is actually named 13. But our brood is not. It is 19, and it is the Great Southern Brood. And there's a couple of areas above Springfield where they are just blocks apart. And it's super, super interesting right now. Nobody's interested in Godfrey this year because they're looking to see if the 13 and the 17s will mate and will respond to each other's calls. And then when will they hatch?
That would be really, hopefully not 5 years from now or anything wild.
Well, those are called straggler broods.
Is that a whole different?
It is. So nobody understands why, how these creatures know it's been 13 years or it's been 17 years. But due to some people say climate change or, shocks to a tree system, they can emerge early. Which is awful.
I'm not a fan of them either. Like, if they're far away and they're in the background, like a half a mile, that's fine because it's.
And everybody loves that noise during the summer. It's that relaxing lull. But what we have right now is over 100 decibels of noise.
Yeah.
Rock concert's 120. So at my house during the day, it's so loud that we're not hearing our phones inside of our house with our windows
You
down.
can't be outside because it's not good for your ears at all.
Well, it's not good for anything.
No.
I mean,
No, that's good. Now, how do you manage them? Because, when you're outside, you still got to live, and you have these...
I run to my car, and then I run back inside.
Is that seriously it?
My husband and son both mowed yesterday, and they were covered from head to toe. So these bugs are attracted. It's only the males that make the screaming noises.
Really?
And we have 4 different species in our 13-year hatch, our brood here.
Mm-hmm.
And so all 4 of them make different noises, but the female make a clicking noise, like a snap. And so all of these creatures are attracted to this vibration of a lawnmower or a blower or a weed whacker. So when people go out to mow or weed whack or cut concrete, they are covered from head to toe.
They're courting the cicadas.
That's correct. They're looking to mate.
Now, do you have a disposal system at this point? Because
yes, it is called shoveling and burning.
Is that it? Just one after the other?
Yeah. So what's happened here with our hatches, 2 weeks ago when it really started to hit, we had a couple of days of very, very heavy rain. And cicadas are dependent on being able to hatch, climb out, and they have kind of a hard shell then.
Right.
Then they climb up a tree, and then the shell comes off, and then they're this white nymph.
It is the ugliest damn
They're
thing.
not attractive. It looks like it has eyebrows. They're awful looking, yes. But they can't fly then, so I didn't mind going near them. And then within 6 hours, they darken into the cicada form that we know them as. But since we had so much rain, we lost a ton at hatch, and their wings didn't develop correctly. Those wings have to dry up high, away from predators, away from the hatch itself. They crawl on top of each other. They are the dumbest bugs. No, they really, really, really
seriously?
are. They're the dumbest bugs. And one will latch onto the other as they're trying to shed, and then they both die. Or, if people... You look around, they'll see some cicadas that are trapped in the shell, and that just means that they didn't get out of there. I mean, they're just dumb. They're just dumb. They're dumb creatures.
Have you seen some funny poses in these final molt forms, if they made it or not?
The female and male end up mating back to back, butt to butt, I guess.
Like that cat dog show?
Exactly. That show that I didn't let you guys watch when you came over to my house because it was so gross, yes. Yes, I did not.
That's true.
That's a nasty show.
It is nasty.
But if you see 2 back to back, they're getting busy. But yeah, I mean, we've seen a tremendous amount of really wonky looking messed up cicadas this year, but we also have the zombie fungus this year.
Okay, so people are being absolute idiots and eating these damn things. And, I get it,
For the most part, it's fine. Anyone who wants to eat a bug can eat a bug. And I know in other countries it's very commonplace. But I don't know. I would think that and I've seen them in my yard. I would use them for fish bait. I would probably not put them in a stir fry with this fungus. It's real nasty.
So is it actually get inside their brain and kill them out and they're still alive?
What it does, sort of. So it creates a plug of fungus on their tail end, on their abdomen, and eventually their abdomen completely comes off. So it's just a head. But what this fungus has, interestingly enough, is the same drug that is in magic mushrooms and basically a form of amphetamines. So they are tripping and on speed. It's like the 70s. And all they want to do is, they're very hypersexual, and all they want to do is mate, even though they don't have an abdomen.
I wonder why there was a red light on my tree the other day. I was so bizarre.
That's probably. For 13 years, this is this is their only job in life.
Right.
They eat for 13 years. They come up. If they're lucky, they get 3 weeks, 4 weeks. They mate. They suck a little bit of sap out of your tree and they die. It's just not.
It's not glamorous.
No,
It's
but
not glamorous.
you know,
No,
but this fungus is very, very interesting, and we've been watching to see how many we had, and have sent some of ours to U of I.
Are you serious?
Yeah, they asked.
Because that is it the same fungus that gets in ants too?
It's similar.
Similar?
It is.
That's
it is.
really
It's
cool.
very similar. And you know, if they fly, well, they have this. They're calling them the salt shakers of death this year because they're dropping this fungus spores all over the new hatches.
What's that
And
do for the future ones?
We're waiting
That's
to see.
wild.
We're waiting
That's
to
gonna be
see.
really
So
interesting.
it is. It's going to be very interesting.
So, people, I think, get the sound of cicadas messed up a lot
Yeah.
because we hear the each summer, and people think that's a cicada, but that's not the cicada.
You know, there's 4 distinct calls for each different species. You know, some scientists describe it as, you know, one of the species saying pharaoh, you know, like there's like a click and a buzz and a click, click, click and a buzz. Sounds like a sprinkler, but they all have their own unique calls. And within those species, they all have different calls for different reasons, whether they're looking to mate, whether they're in trouble, or, you know, any of those things.
What about your dogs with all those cicada shells? Because I know that can be not the best case scenario if you have a dog with a sensitive stomach or, you know, the lining there.
My 13 years ago, I had a big German Shepherd,
Gus.
and Gus, sweet Gus, and Gus was young, and Gus ate so many that Gus vomited profusely for days, and then stopped doing it because he was done. These two are not as smart as Gus. I would say the boxer looks up from the pile every day with shells all over his face. My youngest child said he looks like he's been out eating cereal. But neither animal, I've been trying to call him back in when I see him doing that. But they're large dogs.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be as bad as like if a small dog ate a bunch.
Now, can you use these molts for anything for your garden afterwards? Like, can you crunch
Actually,
them?
all of this is so tremendously good for the environment. Everything about the hatch benefits us in so many ways. It also benefits so many species of wildlife. And interestingly, we have people, I saw a sign at one of our big box stores that said they were selling a pesticide for cicadas. It doesn't work. Number one, it doesn't work.
Well, I could see that, yeah.
And number 2, you're poisoning birds and dogs and cats and turtles and snakes, and you're going to see more snakes, folks, because snakes love cicadas, and fish, and you know it's the worst thing you can do is spray them.
Well, I mean, for what, 6-7 weeks of a little it's discomforting.
It literally doesn't work.
Yeah.
Nothing, everything that they've done to try to keep them, you know, to kill the eggs, they're impervious to this. So what they're working on, interestingly, based on the sweet gum trees, is a spray of some sort that you can spray in your yard to keep them away.
Are you getting that spray if it comes out?
I will hopefully not live in the same house 13 years from now.
That's a good point.
I would prefer not to, yes. But there really just isn't a lot of things that can touch these.
It's amazing, though, because it's just such a simple bug to be resilient to so much is just kind of amazing.
It really is an interesting creature, which is why I thought, as I was doing my research, I'm not going to be upset when one lands on me. I know it doesn't have a mouth that bites. I don't particularly like the fact that it makes a noise, and they do have 5 eyes. They have a little triangle on their forehead that has 3, and then they have the 2
I thought they just
big
had
eyes.
2.
Well, most people do, except...
See that blue-eyed one, though, in Chicago?
So this year, and we seem to not have them in the 13-year brood. It seems to be a 17.
That's
interestingly,
wild.
because I've done it. I
Deep
would
dive?
love to see a blue or gray-eyed. That would almost make this worth it. But we are not seeing them, and that is just the same as having green eyes. For people, it's very rare, but it happens.
So, did you ever think that you would really get this in depth in the cicada hunt?
No. I just try, you know, I all winter long, I was like, how am I going to cope with this? You know, do I go on a 6-week vacation? You know, do I just stay here? My hairdresser, I said 15 times, you're going to have to shave my head. That was the worst part of it, I think, for me, the last time.
Yeah.
they just get caught in there, and it's kind of gross.
Well, I was getting my hair cut yesterday, and two flew into the shop and got in my stylist's shirt, and I thought, thank goodness you didn't have the clippers, going.
And it's awful. If I'm driving and I sit back, there's places in St. Louis.
Yeah.
270 and Olive is so bad that once the temperature, it's a cool morning today, okay? So they're quieter this morning. When the sun starts to rise and they're warm, they're happy. And that's when they start really flying around. So 270 and Olive at 10 o'clock noon is unbelievable. It's just driving your car through pop, 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 pop. I mean, everywhere. There are businesses over there that are telling their people they don't have to come in because they are literally running into their businesses.
That's insane.
They can't keep them out, but they were all using blowers till I walked up and said, stop using your blower, you're attracting more.
Because of the vibration.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And that pop, pop, pop wasn't a crime, it was the cicada sound.
No, this is 270 and Olive, not downtown.
Not downtown. No. But I just think it's really fascinating because DeAdrian, my grandma's house was not as nearly as bad as yours because that was buckets and you guys got a whole fun mess over there.
I think last year, the last time, he thought we had over 100,000.
I wouldn't doubt it.
So, and I know that there are neighbors behind me on Dixon that have a tremendous amount, they love the sun. And I have a huge maple that at the top of my maple is nothing but sun now. So they crawl out, they climb up, they get healthy up there, they drink, they start flying around. You're not going to find them in the middle of the woods because they don't have the sun right there. You're going to find them on the outskirts of it.
That makes sense because Gillis in North Alton is really bad with them too, and that's on the edge of that North Side Park tree lines. And those trees have been there forever, just like DeAdrian. Because Jen, I kept going, how the hell are these neighborhoods getting infested with cicadas?
Right, and like I said earlier, that there's a lot of new construction areas where big trees have come down. We would have taken this maple down, even though it would have broken my heart. But the entomologist told me 13 years ago that if we did, it would still take 50 years for the root system to die.
Oh, yeah.
So I would still have them in 13 years no matter what I did.
Oh, so you were damned if you do, damned if you don't with the tree.
Which is why I really thought by getting into it this year, I would be fine. And I think I'm slightly better, but...
I think so.
Not great. I had a little tantrum at the neighborhood pool when someone flicked one and it got a little bit close to me. And I'm sure it was an accident.
Yeah, always.
But I didn't respond well. It's just a high level of tension, and anyone who pretends like they're going to throw one, I'm like, we can all die together. That's fine.
Well, it's really fascinating though, because I know people have been posting about these for the last few weeks, and
they're a super interesting creature. Yeah. They are remarkably dumb. They only fly short distances and there hasn't been a ton of study on them, but one of the interesting things that's come out in the last few years is, why are they so clumsy? Why are they bonking into walls and to people like that? The blood in their wings, when you look at a cicada's wings, you're going to see the little red stripes. Yeah. That's blood. That's vein system. That blood contains more protein than the blood in their bodies. So their wings are so heavy, they can hardly fly. But their wings are also protected by this very rare goo that makes water ball up and slide off, and it takes dust and dirt with it. So there's all kinds of studies being done on these heavier than normal wings to see if we can do something with that.
That's so wild to me. It's really fat. How much more time do you have till you can enjoy your deck, your patio this summer?
Well, unfortunately, this past weekend, whatever day the rain was that Saturday? I went out after the rain because they're sluggish and cold, and I had new hatches. So whenever I see a white hatch or a new hatch, then you're looking at 6 weeks. Now, that being said, I think we're past peak.
Right.
I mean, or we're right at peak. And we're going to go down from here. So, I mean, like, it's Wednesday, it's burn day, and the burning will commence at my house shortly. But I do think we're looking at, some people have said first week of July. I think they should all be dead by July 4th. And then we'll have the annuals, the regular cicadas that come up every year.
Oh, yeah.
That are much, much bigger. And certainly don't bite, but thank goodness we have only a few of those as compared to if I had 100,000 of those big things in my yard, I'd be it. I'd be dead.
I wouldn't be. I'd move. I'm not going to.
No, I would kill it all with fire. There's no possible way. I could not survive it.
No, and you know what? If you guys have survived it, or if you haven't really seen one yet, now you know a little bit more information about it. But one last question: do they get into any part of your house like siding that we should be checking or anything?
Nothing. They do no damage of any kind. They're great for your yard. They're great for your plants.
And they aerate the grass, don't
yes, they do. But, people that have small trees, baby trees, if they didn't wrap them, they're going to want to check. The females actually have a tool under their belly, and that's how you tell the females and the males apart. The females have the tool and the males don't.
Oh.
And they saw a little line into one of the smaller branches of your tree to lay their eggs, which drop between 10 and 13 weeks later. Those creatures alive are the size of ants and dig down into your roots. But it does tend to maybe sometimes hurt the lilacs or the smaller trees.
That makes sense though.
Yeah, but and those of us with big trees may see some natural pruning. That's what they call it. Mm-hmm. The smaller branches will come off later on in the summer, and it's good for the trees.
Yeah.
There's ultimately nothing these cicadas can do to hurt us, which is why it's so embarrassing that I'm terrified.
With that being said, now we know why all the male cicadas are so humbled, with the tools of the female. We'll take a quick break. Daily Show comes back to you. Lev with Pere Marquette. He's going to join us Pollinator Day. We're going to talk about Pollinator Day. Hummingbirds, some little nectar collectors.
There you go.
All that stuff. Probably should. All that other stuff coming down the pipeline. But while I have you, Hainer Library, HainerLibrary.org. If you're looking for a door to adventure, knowing, learning, and discovering, go to our community staple. And, they've been with me for a year now, and I'm still learning more about what they do, like the Library of Things, where you can go rent, stand
Libraries
mixers.
Need to stay with us forever, no matter how big the computer world gets.
Yeah.
They are a huge priority.
Totally. And you can get cake mixers and stand mixers, or for parents, if their kid's TI-84 calculator broke with a week left, go check it out at the library and bring it back afterwards, and they'll take care of you too. Plus, with your library card, ad-free for free streaming and movies and TV with Biblio Plus, all the good stuff. You just tell them that CJ sends you over their way, and learn more at HainerLibrary.org.
When I got in the car accident at the ER, they gave me a prescription of hydrocodone, and over time, it took more medication to mask the pain. I moved over to drug seeking and found heroin and fentanyl. I went to the Centerstone rehab facility, and it was the best decision I ever made in my life. I have my own car, I have a job, there's nothing holding me back anymore.
Dream Home Realty Center.
Hey Sherry, talk to me, Dream Team.
We've got Joey.
Yo, what up? It's Mike Keith, the proud graduate of Lewis and Clark Community College. I got my start in broadcasting and now I work all over the country. I discovered my path in media, but I could have been an electrician. Or I could have been a nurse.
Maybe not.
We are Phillips 66 Wood River Refinery. We make the fuels that take us to work and our children to school. We make materials and energy products that allow us to stay connected to each other. We care about the quality and safety of our products because we care about the communities we share. Our employees live our values of safety, honor, and a commitment to act as good neighbors where we live and operate. We are Phillips 66.
Welcome back to our daily show. Here's CJ.
Welcome back. 10:38, a little bit of change right here on this 29th day of May. CJ Nasello, it's our daily show. Lev in the studio for Pollinator Day. Yes, sir. How are we looking?
Looking great. We have some new partners joining us for that day. We're going to have some booths set up. Our pollinator garden is growing rapidly, and there's a lot of bugs out there, and I'm really excited for it.
So take us through some of the things that you're seeing already out on the grounds.
Yeah, so we put in about 9 or 10 different native species in our little pollinator garden that we're building, and I'm seeing wild bees. I'm seeing different kinds of dragonflies.
Are they pollinators?
Yes, they are. They collect pollen on their legs, and they visit different flowers. So you'd be surprised at what's a pollinator, but birds are pollinators too, technically speaking. So because they carry seeds around and they deposit seeds in different places.
What's the best pollinator for our area?
I don't think there's a specific pollinator that's the best, but I'd say wild bees probably pollinate the most plants, although there are some plants that are only pollinated by beetles. There are some plants that are only pollinated by water insects. It just really depends. But as a genus, as wild bees probably do the most as far as pollinating.
It's really fascinating to me, all the different things that can pollinate a plant, like bats could too, correct?
Yeah, they can. Bats, I actually looked this up while we were after the last time we spoke.
Nice.
And many species of bat actually, even there's a lot of in South America fruit-eating bats, and specifically for our area, we have bats that roost in trees, and they'll carry acorns around. Oh, not acorns. I'm sorry, but different pollens from different trees around. So they'll pollinate. You'd be surprised at what's pollinating our forests.
Well, and that's what amazes me too, is because and I'm not a botanist or anything, and don't know anything about this, but just a little bit when I was in school, is that how hybrids came to be in hybrid plants.
Yeah.
Did wild animals ever have anything to do with any type of natural process when it comes to that?
Hybridization?
Yeah.
I'm sure oaks readily hybridize. A lot of oak species will hybridize. Fish hybridize too, especially sunfish. So in nature, there are examples of that.
Yeah.
A lot of the hybrid plants we have are actually garden variety plants that people plant in their gardens. A lot of, going back to oaks, a lot of the red oaks that you see on someone's lawn are actually a mixture of a bunch of different species.
I'll be
so
darned.
Closely related. But yeah, in nature that does happen too.
So all I know is that Dalton Brown's reporting that botanists, beekeepers, and more are in store for Pollinator Day at Pere Marquette, which is just coming up on June the 22nd.
Yes, sir.
And this is really cool. I mean, as you guys keep creeping closer and closer to this, it's got to be exciting at this point.
I'm ready. I hope that this is the first year we're doing this, and this is my first larger event that I'm trying to put on, and so we'll see where it goes. But I hope that this is just a day that everybody comes to the park and talks to our native scientists and learns more about the ecology of the area during a time of year that everything is awake and thriving and plants are growing, and it's just a good time to be in the woods.
Well, and honestly, man, it seems like the last time I talked to you, the event's grown even further. Like, it seems like more hands are really getting behind this.
I'm really excited for our partners that are joining us for that week.
And fill us in on those partners again.
We have the St. Clair Beekeeping Association.
That's a big group.
It is. I'm really excited. We have one of their beekeepers coming to do a presentation. He's bringing his bee truck, as he called it. We have...
I wouldn't want to rear end that guy.
Yeah, that would be terrible.
So he's coming.
Yeah, we have folks from the Army Corps of Engineers coming, who are going to be talking about their pollinating efforts, and I believe there are going to be some folks coming from the Native Pollinator Association that we have here in the state.
Well, and what I think's really cool about, just pollination and pollinators in general is that this area, specifically just because I don't drive into Edwardsville or Granite too much, but just in Alton, seeing folks that are really trying to have that wild, that natural, that native garden, selection just somewhere in their yard, even if it's a rise up, they're trying to bring in some native species for those pollinators, and it's cool to see.
Yeah, and Midwest we have such immense diversity when it comes to lawn flowers and different plants that you can plant.
Do we really? Because people say that, but I didn't know if that's
just extreme. And
wow.
And I think that a lot of them, for example, ragweed's a really cool plant. we have different violets, we have different milkweeds, all these different really cool plants that you can throw into your yard will do 10 times better than lawn grass. You won't have to cut your yard, and you might see some really cool and interesting animals and insects that you've never seen before just because you planted those in your yard.
Well, I keep thinking about this, and I'm 6 to 1/2 a dozen the other, because I have a spot, because my house was built so damn weird, and I bought it last year, and I'm like, what do I do? It's like a foot wide, maybe a foot and a half, and it's like 20 feet long. I'm like, that'd be cool to put some native wild, plants.
Coneflower. Coneflower is my favorite plant.
Really?
Well, my favorite
Fill me in.
wildflower.
What is coneflower?
It is a photophoric plant, or photophoric flower, which means that when it grows, it actually follows the path of the sun. It's an annual plant. It has these beautiful, large, showy cone flowers. They smell really, really good. They're super hardy. They grow. If you put them in a field, they'll grow. And pollinators absolutely love them.
Here is the cone. Is this the coneflower?
Purple coneflower. That's it.
So what's the darn thing? And I know we're off topic. I'll talk pollinator day in a second. We got time to play with, folks. But I've seen this where someone goes out in the field and they eat this, like they chew on this black or brown little nub off of a plant, and it expands, and it's all this cotton and.
Oh.
What is that?
That's cotton. What do they call them? I don't remember the common name.
Yeah.
But it's a reed plant that grows on the cattail.
Okay, yeah.
Cattail. So they grow on the edges of ponds, and they have millions and millions and millions of seed heads, and they are actually wind dispersed, and that's why they have so many.
Makes sense.
And so when they're ready for their seeds to disperse into the wind, the little fibers that connect the seed head to the stalk of the plant loosen, and the seeds get blown into the wind. But when you take a bite out of it, it just expands and expands and expands.
I've seen them.
Yeah.
These people are gagging on those damn
It's very,
things.
very bad. I've done it. It's not fun.
I probably
do it once.
It only takes about 3 weeks to get that water back in your mouth, I'm guessing. Well, as we're getting back to pollinator day, and I think that's, just talking about plants a little bit, that's a good thing too, because, sometimes when I think of pollinators, I just think of bees. And, there's a whole process to this and all many, so different angles.
Think about it. Every flower has a pollinator.
Yeah.
Every pollinator has plants that it eats. Some pollinators only eat or only consume the nectar or pollen of a single plant. Some are generalists, and so there's just so much out there, and there's so much we don't even know. You could spend your whole life studying one interaction between one plant, one insect, and not even scratch the surface. And so we live in a very complex world, especially here in the Midwest.
Well, we definitely do, and that's why I think, just to go out there and learn a little bit more, and even if you know a little bit about, local bees and a few of those type of pollinators, to learn about some of the plants you can put in your yard to help their populations keep growing, because we need bees.
We do, and not just honeybees, we need our wild bees.
So what's the difference? Because I've heard wild bees a couple of times in past conversations.
So wild bees, so honeybees are not native to the United States. So the honeybees are native to Europe. So we don't have any native honeybees in the U.S., I believe.
That's wild.
Our bees, when we talk about bees, we're talking about a whole family of insects. And there are thousands and thousands of species of wild bees. Not all bees sting. What we classify as a bee has to do with the number of wings an insect has, its body structure. And these insects are everywhere. They're usually tiny, and they pollinate our plants. Honeybees don't actually, they do pollinate, but they're not, when people talk about save the bees, they're talking about wild bees, not honeybees.
So that makes sense, because I've been so confused by that, because number one, I didn't realize that honeybees weren't native to the United States. That's interesting. And so are we talking like carpenter bees, bumblebees?
Bumblebees are. Bumblebees are, they're in the genus Bombus, and there's about, I think it's over 1,000 species native to the U.S., and bumblebees are native to the U.S., but they don't produce honey. And they live in colonies, but they're smaller.
How do you guys identify? Because obviously, there's 1,000 different types of, there's 1,000 different subspecies, or the correct term, whatever you call it.
Semantics.
Yeah, but how do you guys identify that? Could you, let's say you or anyone else at the team go, oh, well, that is this subsection of the bumblebee?
So it depends. When it comes to insects, not as good as in plants. I can tell you family, but there are so many insects out there. Some species differences are as much as for example, the rusty patch bumblebee, which is an endangered species, and just a classic North American common. Sorry, not honeybee, bumblebee. So rusty patch bumblebee, common North American bumblebee. The difference between the two species is a small little brown patch on the back of the rusty bumblebee.
That's insane. It's just those little nuances because, it was when I was a kid and, we lived on the bluff, so I was always in the woods and we had dial-ups. So there's no point in staying inside, so we'd go out and, buddies and I'd grab airsoft guns and, have a little war and then go walk around. But you walk around and you see all these insects. You're like, oh man, I just found a new insect, and you realize that's just a subspecies of a certain insect that was found hundreds of years ago. Yeah. But you don't realize the diversity that's really out there.
Even in Illinois, we're discovering new species of insect.
Are you really?
Every year. There are insects that we don't even know about. We've not in North America, but they found recently a species of centipede that lives, I think it's like 150 meters underground. So we find that stuff all the time.
It's just that stuff that amazes me. You think in 2024 you know it all, and you realize you don't even know a tenth of what's going on underneath or everywhere else. Now, what about water plants? I find that fascinating. Is the pollination process the same?
I am not too familiar on water plants, but I know that, for example, water lilies, they flower above the surface, and so they are pollinated. I believe those are actually pollinated by dragonflies. Okay. And they land on the stalk and fly to different lily pads. But the concept is probably similar. And I know that there are some species of, like, for example, seaweeds that are dispersed by fish. But I said I'm not too familiar in how aquatic ecosystems work.
Yeah, no, and not to keep putting you on the spot. Lev's not going to be one answering all the questions on the 22nd, but it's pretty cool that I can pretty much ask you anything and there's an answer. I like this. Nate, I gave Nate some good props. He said Lev's a good guy.
Thank you. I try.
But if you're coming to see Pollinator Day, find out what all the buzz is about and take part in this. So there's going to be some guided hikes.
There's going to be some guided hikes.
And now, are you going to be able to see some of the new native plants that are being
Absolutely.
put in?
So they're by our visitor center. So I actually had a group of wonderful students from Jerseyville Middle School come out and help me plant them. And I've been, weeding and maintaining, and it's growing. And you can just stand at the base of that little 20 by 20 foot section of dirt, and you'll see things you'll never see. I saw a new insect today I've never seen before. Spent about 25 minutes staring at it. So it's going to be interesting.
Sounds like a good morning.
It was a great morning.
Nice. And now, honey tasting. Is there a difference in taste between bees?
Not between bees, between the plants that they get the honey from.
Really?
So you get, you talk about clover honey, wildflower honeys, different honey species, different plant species produce different flavors of honey.
Oh,
so,
damn. I did not know that.
Yep.
So does it make it more bitter, sweet, or does it have
It has all different kinds of notes to it. So your wildflower honeys and clover honeys are usually lighter, more delicate tasting, and then it goes all the way to the darkest, most robust and bitter honey I've tasted is from buckwheat. It's almost black, it's thick, it's very bitter. And
like a resin almost?
Yeah, but it still has that honey sugar and sweetness to it, but it's bitter. Wow. It's good to mix into coffee.
Okay.
So there's all different kinds of honeys out there.
Now, I have a question for you.
Yes,
would
sir.
you try some of that honey they found in ancient Egypt, in those tombs that they said
Absolutely.
Would you still eat it?
Honey doesn't go bad. It crystallizes.
We learned that today.
Sugar crystals.
It was on our fun fact sheet.
Awesome.
I was thinking about that today. I'm like, would I try it? So you would?
Absolutely.
Man, that's awesome. And now, arts and crafts going to be on display too?
We're going to have some arts and crafts for the
Fill
younger
me in.
kids. We're going to do... I'm thinking about some origami, maybe have the kids go outside and draw their favorite bugs. I might even find some bugs and have them pin them to some those little foam cards and take home your own bug kind of thing.
Yeah.
But just to make sure that the bugs that I take are ones that I can take, of course.
Well, you know what I think's cool? There's a lady, and she is so wonderful. She does River City Oddities, Kaylin Gaither. and she goes out in the woods and finds a bunch of carcasses and pins them and makes really cool jewelry out of them with little with little mushrooms too. And there's really cool things out there like that.
Yeah, the woods are an excellent place, and you'll never ever know what you're gonna find.
100%. And now, what live animals are gonna be coming down?
We're still working on that.
Oh,
for now, 100% there's gonna be live bees.
That's cool.
Yeah, very different kinds. But we're still figuring out the last steps in those live animals.
Did you see the guy that built the beehive in his house?
I did not.
Well, I got to take a quick break and show you that. I'll show everybody. He literally built it to where it goes into his living room, and it's mounted on his wall, and it's like huge. It's incredible.
Our beehive at Pere Marquette is inside, and the bees actually come in through it too.
Yeah.
Yep, and you can come open the beehive and take a look and watch them do the little bee stuff.
Is it healthier that way for you guys just to clean it and all that, or not clean it but just manage it?
Well, in the summer, in the winter time when it's cold, we can keep the bees somewhere warm.
Makes sense.
And then when it's you can just open it up, take a look. It's I think the bees like it. It's always warm in there, so.
Now, that's cool. Let me take a break. It's 10:54. We'll come back, more pollinator day, all that good stuff. And we'll come back with more right after this.
When I got in a car accident at the ER, they gave me a prescription of hydrocodone. And over time, it took more medication to mask the pain. I moved over to drug seeking and found heroin and fentanyl. I went to the Centerstone rehab facility, and it was the best decision I ever made in my life. I have my own car, I have a job, there's nothing holding me back anymore.
Dream Home Realty Center.
Hey, Sherry. Talk to me, Dream Team.
We've got Joey.
Yo, what up? It's Mike Keith, the proud graduate of Lewis and Clark Community College. I got my start in broadcasting and now I work all over the country. I discovered my path in media, but I could have been an electrician. Or I could have been a nurse.
Maybe not.
We are Phillips 66 Wood River Refinery. We make the fuels that take us to work and our children to school. We make materials and energy products that allow us to stay connected to each other. We care about the quality and safety of our products because we care about the communities we share. Our employees live our values of safety, honor, and a commitment to act as good neighbors where we live and operate. We are Phillips 66. Welcome back to our daily show. Here's CJ.
Alrighty, welcome back. 10:56. Hold on, look at this darn thing. So this is in a guy's house, okay? That's the tube that goes in there, and so Lev, they're going in this tube. How many? I mean, look at the traffic, Jim. You thought 270 was bad. Number one, good luck getting into this, and I don't even know what the guy's YouTube channel is, but he gets further and further into this video here, and look at how big. So what are these things right here you were pointing out?
So those are basically the hive is getting so big that they're starting to build their comb onto the glass. And earlier in the video when I was looking at it, I saw things called queen cells, and those are different sized cells that they feed special digestive enzymes, I believe, too, that produce queens or more queens for the colony. And then the one queen that has birthed will take a swarm of bees and find a new home, and the previous queen will either stay or she'll be killed and eaten and replaced with another queen.
That's just incredible. Look at how this ends, though. Here, let me just skip forward a little bit. This is like just a little piece for you guys here, and it goes into his house, into the beehive, and then he has a little tube here on the end that shows it going outside of the house. Now, the neighbors have got to be angry. There's got to be a mass. Look at that. Could you imagine? You know, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing to have it, but if I'm a neighbor, I'm like, hey man, just make sure those bees stay over in your yard, there, pal. You know, it doesn't look like a rural area to me. What do you think? That's pretty cool. Is that like your guys's?
Yeah, his is a lot larger.
Really?
But, that's very similar to what we have going on.
That's awesome, man. So getting back to the day, let's go through it all. So it starts at 10 a.m.?
It starts at 10 a.m. We're going to have our guided hike some point in the morning. I'm going to just wait till I have a good crowd. We're going to have booths set up where you can go talk to our partners that are coming, and they're going to have their own material, and they're going to bring some cool plants, some seeds, I believe, to give out, and you can just ask any questions you want. Then we're going to have a presentation around 11:30 with our local beekeeper, and he's going to bring his bee truck and some honey, and it's going to be awesome.
That's
and then
really cool.
arts and crafts will be available the entire time. It's going to go till 1 o'clock, so 3 hours, and we're just going to have all this opportunity to learn about what we have going on here in Illinois.
There you go. And, I mean, just a good opportunity to learn a whole bunch of stuff, too, and it's for all ages, correct?
Everybody's welcome.
And now, for the guided hike, just always good to clarify, not ADA compliant on that hike, is it?
It's not going to be,
okay.
Unfortunately.
Just want to make sure we clarify.
If anybody ever wants me to go with them on something ADA compliant, I can make that happen too.
Really good to know.
Awesome.
And with that being said, if you want to learn about some of the native plant species that you can have in your own backyard and attract some of those native pollinators, or just learn more about bees and pollinators in general, head on over for a couple of hours of family fun at Pere Marquette State Park on the 22nd of June.
22nd of June.
That was on the top of my head, man. I was getting nervous there at the end. But, Lev, always great talking to you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
You know, I talked to Nate earlier. Now I get Lev now, and who knows what tomorrow will bring me. With that being said, we're out of time. Thank you all for hanging out with me today. I'll see you tomorrow. Thursday morning, hitting us on the 30th day of May. But until then, just try your best to stay out of jail.